The Price of Loving Him. Episode 3. Caleb stood up and said, I just wanted to know if Sebastian has come to see me. After he stabbed you, he was scared. He took you to the hospital and then left. He hasn't been back since. With his back to me, he says, he just doesn't care enough. Caleb whispers so softly that I almost miss it, there's something between you two. You are crazy. I tried to play it off, but I couldn't risk it. Caleb would hate me, and so would everyone else. Don't lie to me, Arya. You think I'm stupid. Caleb turned to me and pointed his finger down. I see how he looks at you. I've never seen Sebastian care about anyone as much as he does about you, not even your own mother. I was going to argue with him, but then the door opened behind him. I got my hopes up like a fool. I thought it was Sebastian, but it turned out to be Maya. Oh my God, you're awake. Maya ran into my arms, and I hugged her tightly. I was watching Caleb while I hugged her, and he looked angry. He turned back around and ran his hand across his face. Caleb said, I'm glad you're okay, before opening the door and leaving. I felt bad because I was messing up my mom, Henry, and now Caleb too. What got into him? Maya smiles at me and pulls away. I started to laugh, and Maya looked at me funny because I was laughing so hard. My laugh got drier and drier, and then it turned into a sob. I started to cry in a big way. I'm a horrible person. I cried. My body shakes, and she looks at me longingly. Are you okay, Arya? Maya puts her hand on my shoulder and tilts her head. I felt betrayed by her for siding with her brother, but right now I just need my best friend. I'm fine. I started to breathe too fast. I could barely cry because I was having trouble breathing. I'm okay, I yelled. Arya, shhhh, it's okay. She hugs me and rubs my back up and down. Breathe, Arya, she whispers. I can't. She raises my face with her hands to make sure I am looking at her. You're having a panic attack, she says. Breathe with me, she says, and I do what she says. I did what she said until I started to feel better and my breathing became more even. She had tears in her eyes as she watched me breathe. I'm so sorry to see you like this, she whispers. Nobody gets it, I don't even know why I care about him. He's a terrible person, and he uses me. I cried when I heard, I'm a stupid girl who just wants to be loved. Love is a dangerous game, and I always lose. It's remarkable how someone can hurt you so deeply and yet your love for them never truly fades. I feel like this pain will never go away, he's always going to hurt me, but I can't let go. I didn't have to love Henry or marry him. It was forced. She looked confused, she didn't know who I was talking about. He stabbed me, Maya. I yelled, tears streaming down my face. I looked up at her, a confused expression on her face, which began to soften. Her eyes lit up when she realized who I was talking about. Mr. Maya says, Devaru stabbed you. I felt like a huge brick had been lifted off my shoulder. I wiped my tears with the back of my hand and looked down at my wrapped thigh. He hurt me again, I said softly. When I was 7, Maya and I promised to always be there for each other. As teenagers, we always had each other's backs and defended each other. Maya and I have grown apart over the years, but our love for each other has never changed. We could never stay mad at each other, no matter how hard we tried. Why didn't you tell me? She asked. I looked back up at her and said, that's why he's my mom's fiancé. Why didn't you tell me? I'm your best friend. She got up and looked angry. I took her hand and my eyes started to plead. Please don't be mad, I said quietly. I couldn't handle that either. She glared at me for a moment before nodding and sitting back down on the bed. I tightened my grip on her hand. Maya whispers, you'll be fine. I sniffed and looked down at my hands, which were getting wet with tears. I think I'm broken, I said, stuttering. She lay down next to me and patted the empty space next to her head. I lay down across from her, and she pulled the hospital blanket over us. I snuggled up to the warmth of the blanket. She looked into my green eyes, looking for an answer, but I didn't have one. My body relaxed as I felt calmer with her around. She has always known how to make me feel better. Arya, you're not broken. She says, you're smart, beautiful, kind, and strong. You have an amazing heart. You deserve the love you give to others. What she said made sense. I love too quickly and give my all when they give me nothing in return. To move on, I have to love myself. Maya gently patted my head to comfort me and started singing the song my mum used to sing to us when we were kids. My body was completely relaxed and ready for sleep, and my eyes began to close. Sebastian stabbed me a week ago, and he hasn't been seen since. I came home 2 days ago and he wasn't there. Caleb and Maya have been hanging out, and things have been really awkward between Caleb and me. Every day I've begged Caleb to let me go home. Sebastian told Caleb he couldn't let me go home or call Henry, and even when he's not here, he's still in charge of my life. Maya yells, we're going out tonight. I put the book I was reading on my lap down. I tilted my head at her as she went through my closet looking for something to wear. Ch 25. Is this how my night is going to end? Being raped. He was suddenly taken from me, and I gasped for air. The fight started when the music got louder and louder. Everyone was watching. I was tripping over my feet, and my clumsy hands ended up on my cheeks. Sebastian was hitting him, and before he stood up, he hit Gary in the face one last time. Don't ever touch her again or any other girl. He stomped on his ribs, and I could hear them breaking. Gary was bleeding on the floor, and everyone else was drunk but still looked scared of Sebastian. Sebastian turned back to me and grabbed my shoulders. I think someone, Maya. I said. I need to find Maya. I pulled away from his hands and tried to walk, but my legs were giving up on me. Caleb has her, he said as he picked me up and I rested my head on his chest. Why did you leave? Why did you stab me? I cried softly. I was losing my train of thought because I was feeling so many things at once. Go to sleep, Arya. I'm sorry, my little pumpkin, he whispers in my ear, thinking I was sound asleep. I woke up in my bed, and I was home again. I thought about last night, when I almost got raped and Sebastian beat up the guy who almost raped me. I sat up and put on my sheep pajamas. Did he make me different? Don't worry, I didn't change you. I turned my head to see where the voice was coming from. Sebastian was lying on my couch with a blanket around him. He slept in my room and watched me. How sweet, Sebastian says. His name is Larry Johnson, and he's a trafficker. When he's out with his brother Justin Johnson, he goes by the name Gary to trick young girls, then he kidnaps them and rapes them. I was shocked. The barman didn't look like his brother or a trafficker, and he didn't look like a pervert. This is why I don't like redheads, they're the worst. He didn't look like it, I said quietly. Sebastian yells, you could have been kidnapped, raped, or killed. You put yourself in danger last night. I'm angry inside. How could he? Doesn't he know that just loving him and knowing him puts me in danger every day? Because of him, I'm always in danger. I pulled the blanket off of me, got up, and walked over to him. Don't you dare act like you care, I yelled. We both know you don't care about me at all. Sebastian laughed in a way that made me feel uneasy. There was something scary about this laugh that made my stomach turn. He had me pinned against the wall with his fist inside the wall in a flash. I gasped. I wasn't scared of him, I was angrier than ever. This man in front of me is the most hated person I've ever met. You're a murderer, you killed your own family, you're nothing but a lonely bastard, and you'll always be one. I screamed at the end, I'm tired of living like this, I can't do it anymore. You don't know anything about family, he whispers harshly. Come on, your father left you because he didn't want you. No one does. I felt nothing but betrayal right now, his harsh words made me doubt everything about myself. I wish you had died, I yelled. He quickly realized what he had said and his eyes filled with regret right away. He moved closer to me and tried to touch my arm, but I pulled away, hard. I looked out the window, which was the only thing that could take my mind off of things. His words faded away, and guilt filled his body like it had before. Leave, I yell angrily. He was going to say something before he gave up. He ran his hand over his new beard, then he turned sharply to the right and left the room, slamming the door behind him. After he left, I cried so hard that my body shook with pain. I slowly made my way to the mirror, afraid to look at myself and see how badly he had hurt me mentally. I am so dumb. Tears were running down my neck and onto my shirt, making me cold. Maya opened the door to my room and skipped over to me until she saw that I was crying. He's making you cry. She hugs me and I put my head between her neck and shoulder. Did he send you? I ask. She shakes her head. There's a business event tonight. Everyone who runs a cartel will be there, including your dad and Henry. She told me. Sebastian told me to help you get ready because you're going out with him tonight. Henry, I said his name softly. I missed him so much. He's not just my fiancé, he's also my friend. Maybe they can take you home, she says. I softly shake my head from side to side. Sebastian said they wouldn't be able to, even if they tried. He said he'd have to wait a month and a month. Not me, my dad, or Henry can do anything. He's in charge. She just looked down, and the little bit of hope she had was gone. I know she felt bad for me, but I couldn't comfort her because that's how I feel every day. It was hard to get ready, I felt numb to everything. Maya kept trying to make me feel better, but it didn't work. I thought I shouldn't be alive or even breathing. I'm hurting my mum for that piece of shit, that thing that calls itself a man but is really just a little boy. Before I met him, I was Arya Callahan. Caleb's betrayal broke me, but I put myself back together piece by piece and got stronger. Now, though, that's all gone. My mom wanted happiness and love, but she couldn't have them because I was so selfish. I was so desperate for someone to love me that I'm hurting everyone around me as I try to make it happen. Henry picked up the pieces and tried to put them back together with new ones. I just cheated on him for the devil. Sebastian chose a long, pretty, white dress for me to wear tonight. It made me think of the dress I wore when I first met him. I whispered, "I can't wear this," and put the white dress back on my dresser. Maya stood back and looked at me. I looked through my closet for another dress, but I couldn't find one. Put it, I don't want to wear that white dress. I cut her off in the middle of her sentence, and she nodded. It made me think of a lot of old memories that I didn't want to remember. Stay here, I said to her. I pulled my robe tightly around me and opened the door. I walked down the hall to find a room that wasn't being used. I found Sebastian's office, where I did my wrong and where it all began. I ran my fingers over the wall, and the pattern has always stood out to me. I never saw this before, there was a door hidden in the pattern. I didn't feel this when he was banging me against the wall. To be fair, I didn't feel anything after that. I was interested in this room, but the doorknob was missing. What could the great Sebastian Devereux be hiding behind this door? What if something came to mind? I kicked the door and broke it. I poked it one last time before it broke all the way open. Damn, do you think he'll notice? No kidding. This secret room was so big that it wasn't even a room, it was a closet. There were a lot of women's clothes and a few men's suits in it. I ran my fingers over the fabrics as I walked up to the drawer in the middle that had jewelry on display. I picked up the picture frame that was leaning against the drawer. It was a picture of a girl. She looked beautiful in a dark red dress. Her skin was flawless, and her hair was dark brown and perfectly pinned back. This must be Sebastian's long-lost lover or something. Why else would he have a whole room full of her stuff? Also, why does this make me so mad? I keep telling myself that I'm mad because he's dating my mum and has a room with this other woman, but what if I'm mad because he never told me about her? Anyway, screw him and his perfect face. The red dress stood out from all the other plain dresses. It wasn't just any red, it was a deep scarlet red. I quickly grabbed the dress and carefully stepped out of the closet. I looked back at the door and saw that Caleb had done it. I smiled as I walked back to my room. I can't wait to see his face when he sees me in this. My black heels made a noise on the shiny floor. Maya was also wearing a lovely pale yellow dress. Caleb looked at me and seemed to be struggling with his feelings. He tried to grab my arm, but I gently pushed him away. I want to walk in by myself, I said with a smile. Caleb understood and nodded. Caleb hooked his arm with his little sister's. I just now noticed how much Maya and Caleb look alike. Caleb and Maya were in front, and I was right behind them. The red dress fit me perfectly, and my hips were swinging back and forth smoothly. I decided to follow the picture directly. My hair was in an elegant bun, I wore red lipstick, and my eyeshadow was made up of warm colors. Caleb took us down to a room that looked like a basement. "I've never been here before. Is it down here?" I asked. "Yes. It happens once a year, and people from all over come to celebrate the Devereaux name." Caleb answered my question and told me more. The lights were flashing, and the music was slow and hypnotic. Before going in, Caleb stopped and reached inside his suit. He took out 3 masks. 2 were black and 1 was red. "You wear the red one," Caleb said as he handed me the red mask. I looked down at it. "What's the deal with red?" I asked. "Why? Shouldn't I have the same mask as you guys?" Caleb told me, "You're his date, so everyone knows who you're with." I was still worried, but I just listened and did what he said. Before we went into the room, we all looked at each other's masks. This basement was huge. People were wearing pearls, diamonds, and expensive suits and dresses. It seemed fishy. The music was so loud that I couldn't even hear myself think. Everyone looked so classy and nice. I held the red dress so I wouldn't trip as I walked down the long stairs. When I got to the bottom, I started to feel nervous, but I don't know why. I looked around and saw that I was the only one wearing a red mask. This seemed to get everyone's attention. Maya and Caleb seemed to be pretty at ease. "Find Sebastian," Caleb whispered to me before walking over to a table full of men. Maya followed him. "Awesome, Mrs. Devereaux." A man in a black tuxedo and a black mask came in. "I'm pretty sure I've never met him before." "Who are you?" I asked. The man didn't say anything for a few seconds before answering. "A friend of Sebastian," the man said with a smile that made me feel uneasy. "Speaking of Sebastian, I really should. I can't believe you're wearing Deborah's dress," the man said. "That girl in the picture must be Deborah." I didn't get any friend vibes from this guy, he was definitely creepy. "Deborah?" I asked. "My fiancée before Sebastian killed her," the man said, and his voice got dark and angry. This wasn't Sebastian's friend, this was his enemy. I. He grabbed my elbow and started to pull me through the crowd of people. The lights were flashing and making noise so much that I couldn't see where he was taking me. I tried to pull my hand away from his strong grip, but it wasn't strong enough. I kept tripping over my heels until I finally kicked them off while he dragged me. "Let me go," I yelled. The loud music made it hard for anyone to hear me. Finally, the music stopped, the lights stopped flashing, and we stopped moving. The cold air touched my pale skin, and I shivered. We were on the roof, outside. I yelled, "What do you want?" The man pushed me back, and I almost fell to the ground, but I was able to keep my balance. "Sebastian Devereaux is the devil. He took everything from me. He hides behind his money and power, but I don't need either of those things. I just need his pain," the man growled. He took off his mask and showed me his face, which was all burned. I realized what was going on and my eyes got big. "Please don't do this," I begged. "Sebastian has a lot of secrets, and you're about to find out his biggest one." The man came a little closer to me, and I backed up slowly. "Deborah is his sister. Sebastian has a sister." I was shocked and gasped. That girl was his sister. "I'm wearing the dress of the sister he killed." I hated myself for taking that wardrobe. It was hers. He started the fire because he wanted his father's power, and Deborah was the firstborn, so she was going to get the cartel. The man laughs dryly. The man held up his hand to show off his wedding ring. Sebastian wasn't having any of it, he yelled. I ran into the fire to save my wife and unborn child, but it was too late, the man said, tilting his head to show me his burns. "This Kent Roger is really a monster. I can't breathe. I slept with a killer who was cold-blooded." Sebastian told me, she knew what was coming. The man suddenly pulled a gun out of his suit, and my heart raced. "Don't. Please, be better than him," I said softly. "Take off your mask," the man said. My hands were shaking as I reached for the string on my mask and slowly unwrapped it. When the mask came off, my lips shook. He looked shocked, and his face turned ghostly pale. "Who are you?" The man aimed the gun at his head. I jumped up in fear. "I don't want to see anyone die, that would ruin me." I put my hands up to show that I wasn't a threat. "Arya," I said right away. "Why do you look so much like her?" the man yelled. I felt bad because Sebastian ruined this guy's life just because he loved his sister. "Sebastian picked you because you look just like Deborah," the man yelled in anger. I slowly walked up. The man pointed the gun at me again, and I stopped completely. I bit my lip and tears ran down my cheeks. I asked, "What's your name?" to get him to stop thinking about the gun he had in his hand. "Tyler Diego." "Tyler, I'm Arya Callahan. My mum is engaged to Sebastian," I said. I held up my hand to show off my engagement ring. I then put my hands out, palms down, to show off my engagement ring. "I'm engaged to another man, not Sebastian." My voice shook because I was so scared. "No," the man yells. "I know everything. He's in love with you but engaged to your mother." The man picked the gun and moves closer to me, ready to shoot. "Okay," I said softly. This guy was so wrong. Sebastian is me but loves my mum. Tyler smiled wickedly at his plan. "If I kill you, I hurt him the same way he hurt me." All I could think about was getting away. Everything happened so slowly, it all took so long. I started running, and my hair, which had been in a bun, was now floating in the air. My feet felt like they weren't even moving. I jumped over the rail and onto the other part of the roof. I was shot at, but I was able to avoid all of them. I was basically hanging off the edge of a wall that was connected to Sebastian's office. From up here, the ground looked so small. I put my head against the wall behind me and tears started to fall. "Deborah, where are you?" he yelled, and I cried in fear. This guy is insane, he thinks I'm his dead wife and wants to kill me. I put my hand over my mouth to keep any sound I might make from getting out. I had to move back to solid ground because I was going to fall if I didn't. He was pointing his gun at me and standing in front of me. "I told you to kill him that night, but you didn't listen," Tyler screams through tears. He hit his head with the gun and then aimed it at me again. Is this how my life is going to end? I looked over at this crazy man who was about to kill me. He was in so much pain. Tyler says, "This is all for you, Deborah." I shut my eyes because I didn't want to see my death. Bang! No! Before I was pushed back, I heard someone yell. I fell to the floor and waited for the pain to start. I opened my eyes because I didn't feel any pain. All I saw was blood, and it wasn't mine. Maya was lying in a pool of her own blood, trying to get air. "No, no," I cried as I crawled over to her and pulled her onto my lap. Bang! Bang! Tyler's body fell to the floor, dead. Sebastian and Caleb were both there, and Sebastian put his gun down. "It's okay," Maya says, choking on her own blood. She gives me the biggest smile she can. "Hey, Maya," Caleb whispers. He fell to the floor next to me, and she smiled up at her brother. He began to freak out. "You're fine, look at me," he cried. She slowly looked up at him again, and blood poured out of her mouth. Everything seemed to move so slowly. My eyes followed her body as it hurt, and my hand over her legs looked so blurry. My mind was completely blank and full of fear. "Everything is fine, little sister." He puts his hand over her open wound to stop the bleeding. "Tch, thank you," she says, and I nod my head and bite my lips, tasting the salty tears. "I love you." You could hear the pain in her voice as her body slowly shut down. "Hey, don't say it like you're saying goodbye." Caleb kissed her forehead and brought her hand to his lips. The scene in front of me broke my heart. She took her last breath and closed her eyes. Her spirit left her body. My lips shook a lot and tears fell faster than seconds. "I love you." My voice shook as I leaned in closer to her and touched her stomach with my head. I couldn't hear her heart beating or the oxygen that would be going through her body if she were still alive. When her hand slipped out of his, Caleb mumbles, "Maya." That's when his mind finally understood that she was gone. "God no, please." He started giving her CPR to try to bring her back to life, but it was clear it wasn't going to work. "Caleb," I said softly, and my hand on his shoulder made him brush it off. "Come on, Maya," he yells as he pushes harder against her chest. He was covered in her blood, and sweat was starting to drip down the side of his head. "Don't go, you're all I have." He yells louder and keeps pumping. Sebastian turned around as if he couldn't handle what had just happened. It was all his fault. "You're all I have," Caleb cries out, and his hands stop moving and he falls back. He realized that CPR wasn't going to help when reality hit him in the face. "You're all I need." His voice was shaky and very quiet, and he looked at me like he was waiting for me to tell him the truth. "She's left. My past has hurt the one person I really care about. Arya is nothing like her mother. She is full of life, funny, loving, and carefree. Now, her world is black and white. I turned it upside down. I always ruin people I love, it's in my blood. At first, it was just X, but everything changed when I saw her with Henry. It made me remember that she could easily move on, and I didn't want her to. Maya was innocent, she was Caleb's little sister and Arya's best friend. I felt like I was to blame for everything that happened because I am. Driving Arya to Maya's funeral is worse than I thought. Caleb left Arya, so all she has is me, a killer, a cartel leader, and an abuser. I was dressed in all black, and so was Arya. I thought of a way to make Arya feel better during the funeral. I called Jack and let him step on my property for just this day, only him. Arya and I both got out of my car and walked over to the tent where the funeral was taking place. Arya hugged a man and a woman. The man had dark brown hair and was well dressed, while the woman was a mess and had light brown hair that looked just like Maya's. It's her parents. I stood away from everyone else who was under the tent because I couldn't bear to act like I wasn't responsible for Maya's death. Flashback, Mom, look what I made. I yelled to my mother, pointing at my art. My mom and dad were fighting. They always fought about everything. My dad had anger problems and would snap at anything. My mom just nodded and gave me a sad smile. She always tried to seem happy for me and my sister. My father slapped my mother in the face, and she fell to the floor. My older sister Deborah pulled me into her room to play more. There was a lot of screaming, glass breaking, and crying. Look, brother, Deborah said as she made a star out of thin rope with her fingers. My sister would always pull me into her room when Mom and Dad were fighting to keep me from getting upset. My mom yells, Alejandro, enough. Your kids are watching. I heard more glass breaking, which made me jump in fear. My sister hugged me and kissed my forehead. Well, if you can't give it to me, I'm pretty sure your daughter can. My dad's voice was scary, it was so deep and evil. I didn't get what he meant until I saw my sister start to panic. She ran to her door and tried to lock it, but my dad had already opened it. No, my mom tried to stop my dad, but he hit her in the face and she passed out. My sister was crying and trying to get away from my dad's strong grip. I stood up and didn't know what to do. My sister was pulling on the arm that my dad was holding. Turn around, son, my dad yells at me. I wasn't sure if I should until I saw my sister weakly nod yes. I sat down and faced the wall in the corner. My sister screamed and cried. My dad grunted and whispered. I started to rock back and forth and sing. I whispered very softly. Over memory I looked at Arya for a second. Her father was holding her. It was like she could feel me looking at her, because she looked at me from a distance. I took off my sunglasses, which were covering my blue eyes. I wasn't right for her, I'd already hurt her enough. Henry is perfect for her, he loves her. She has a family that loves her, why would I want to keep her from them? I'm a selfish bastard, but I can't be selfish with her anymore. Arya needed to say something, so I put my hand in my pocket. She looked broken, sad, and like she'd given up. Her hands shook as she tried to say something. I miss you. Arya laughs and cries at the same time, her beautiful cheeks wet with tears. My mind knows that you are in a better place where there is no pain, you are at peace. Arya cries. I understand that, I just wish I could explain it to my heart. I know we'll see each other again one day, but for now, I have to live without you. Her watery eyes met mine, and my eyes softened. She shook her head as if to say, stop it. Arya put her small hand on Maya's casket and cried. Jack walked up next to her and wrapped his arms around her. The last thing that happened at the funeral was burying Maya's casket 6 feet deep. Sebastian, let me take her home with her family. It's where she belongs, Jack tries to tell me. Arya looks confused by that. It seems like part of her wants to go home and part of her wants to stay. No, she stays, I said. Jack was about to make his point when Arya stepped in and stopped him. Thanks, Dad. I love you, tell Mum I love her too. Arya kisses her dad on the cheek and smiles at him. Jack smiles back and walks away, where his security guards are waiting for him. I was worried because the ride home was completely quiet. I know what I have to do, but I don't want to do it. It's going to be hard to lose her again, but I have to. My past is long and dark. Tyler isn't the only one looking for revenge, and they will do anything to hurt me. I won't risk losing Arya to death, which I'm used to. Vanessa knew our marriage was over when I stopped having sex with her. It was all over when she saw her ex-husband. Now she's just waiting for Jack to notice. I knocked on Arya's door and waited for her to answer. It was scary. I had never been scared before meeting Arya. The door slowly opened, and Arya was broken. Tears were streaming down her cheeks, her nose was red, and her blonde hair was messy and covering her face. Sebastian, what? Arya puts a piece of hair behind her ear. May I come in? Please, I say. She nods and opens the door wider so I can come in. She closes the door behind me. I looked around her room and saw that there were books and picture frames all over the floor. I was looking at pictures of Maya and me, she says as she sniffs. I whispered, you don't have to explain. She sat on her bed and quickly moved her hair out of her face. She looked like a broken piece of art, so beautiful. I quietly walked over to her and bent down to her level. Sebastian, don't, she whispers. Death and violence have been my whole life. I like hurting people and putting them in danger, but I can't do that to you anymore. I said as I put my hands on her cheeks and looked into her green eyes. Your mother somehow looked past the monster. She looks down, and her eyes are full of tears. I said, you changed the monster. She looks me in the eye again and tilts her head a little. She didn't understand what I said. I love your big green eyes and your smile. I love that you know what I'm thinking when no one else does. I love that you see past all the bad things. I love that you stand up to me and challenge me. I love that you didn't give up on me. I whispered, you're so wrong for me, and I love every bit of it. I love you, pumpkin. My hands tightened around her cheeks, and her hands found their way to my wrist. She put her hands on mine, and tears fell down her beautiful face. Don't say that, it makes it harder, she says. I quickly brushed the loose strands of her blonde hair out of her face. I was a coward for not saying it back to you that night. I put my forehead against hers, and her hands went down to my elbow. I never loved your mother, I liked the idea of loving her. I say, you deserve someone much better than me, and I know that now. She wiped her nose, which was running. I can't say it back anymore. I know I deserve that, but I just wanted to tell you. Sebastian, one last kiss. I leaned in to meet her soft lips, and her hands crawled up to my hair. Her lips got heavier on mine, and I liked the kiss. I leaned more into her, and she lay on her bed with me on top of her. I pulled her leg against my side with one hand and held the side of her neck with the other as I kissed her more deeply. My body was used to hers, her moans, and her kisses. Her whimpers filled the room. It was different with her, she was different. I can't change who I am, all I can do is save her from my lifestyle. Now I understand why Jack left her and Vanessa, he did it out of love and safety. I looked at her sleeping body, she was lying on her stomach with the sheets wrapped around her. I gently stroked her rosy cheek, and when she moved a little in her sleep, I smiled. She still reacts to my touch even when she's sleeping. I have to treat her fairly. I picked up my boxers from the floor and put them on. I was careful not to make too much noise because I didn't want to wake her up. I walked to my office and poured myself some whiskey before picking up my phone. I called Jack's phone number and it rang once before he answered. "I'm leaving town without Arya," I said right away, not wanting to waste any time. "Jack, why?" "Because she should be happy." "Jack, how do I know this isn't a scam? I wouldn't joke about something that has to do with Arya." "Jack, it seems that the devil can love after all. Please come here in an hour and look after her and Vanessa." I hung up the phone and drank my whiskey. I told my men to pack up the whole house, everything will be gone. Arya will only remember me as a fading memory, which is how it should be. I went back into Arya's room, where she was snuggling into the pillow. I put the letter I wrote for her on my side of the bed and kissed her cheek. I whispered, quotes, "Goodbye, Arya Callahan. I'm sorry." For the first time in 28 years, I was about to cry. "The car is ready." It was harder to look at her for the last time than I thought it would be. Okay. Being a cartel leader means I can't have her because I love her. We are the bad guys, so we don't get a happy ending. The house was getting farther and farther away until I couldn't see it anymore. She could finally live the life she deserves without me. My life would never be the same, and it shouldn't be, especially after having her. "You did the right thing. She'll hate me." I leaned back in my seat and let the cold air touch my skin. "More. She's going to hate both of us." "Caleb, you're a good friend," I said. Caleb didn't say anything, he just kept looking at the road. Caleb wasn't just leaving Arya, he was also leaving his child. He saw how dangerous our world can be after his sister died. He would rather his child grow up without a father than be in danger every 5 seconds. I have always been a sick man. I saw how my dad treated my mom and how it hurt her mentally and physically. I don't want to put her through that, and I don't want to be like my dad either. I remembered things about Arya. When I first met her, she was wearing a white dress and her hair was wavy and messy. She looked beautiful. I first saw her green eyes, then her warm smile. The first time I saw her, she looked so beautiful in her pajama shorts as she walked through my office. I remember how her fingers traced the pattern on the wall that my mother picked out so long ago. "Florida," Caleb says. I look out my window. It was nice to see the sun start to set. "Florida it is." 4 years later Sebastian left me in that empty house 4 years ago, and I was heartbroken and alone. It's been 4 years since I lost my baby. Being pregnant was a blessing, but it went away just as quickly as it came. The baby that Sebastian and I had was stillborn. I hated Sebastian Devereux right away when I saw my baby. I hate him more than anything. After that, life was hard. I thought it was my fault too. Maybe my baby would still be alive if I hadn't mourned Maya's death so much. My mum and dad were always there for me and supported everything I did. I learned to like my mum and dad more. My housekeeper said, "Mrs. Benerick, you have a guest." "Thanks, Alex." I smiled. 3 years ago, I married Henry. Those have been the best 3 years of my life. Henry is so special and caring that loving him is unlike anything I've ever felt. Henry was okay with my baby from the start. When he found out that our baby was born dead, he was horrified and broken. He felt everything I felt. I fell in love with him right away, and seeing how much he cared for our baby and me made me love him even more. As I walked down our long staircase, my heels clicked on the cold tile. "Well, don't you look beautiful?" Naomi says with a smirk. Her beautiful red hair falls naturally over her shoulder. "Isn't this a nice surprise?" I laugh and give her a big, loving hug. Naomi and her husband now live nearby. I put my hand on her growing belly, and when she kicked, my hand bumped a little against my other hand. My face lit up with interest. This baby really likes me. "She's been kicking a lot lately," Naomi says as she rubs her belly. Seeing pregnant women or kids in general hurts, of course. I wanted that. I wanted my baby and everything that came with it. Maybe that's why I hate Sebastian so much. I hate him for not staying and being there for me. Without his help, I had to go through this awful thing. It was his child. Naomi saw that I was zoning out and put her soft hand on my shoulder. "Let's go shopping, I want to spoil my godchild today." I clapped my hands together in excitement. Naomi says, "If you say so," and then she wobbles out the front door. I quickly grabbed my purse and met her in the car. Maria and my dad are going to have their first child together. It was hard on my mom because my dad was going to leave Maria for my mom, but a child changes everything. My mom was sad, but she knew there was nothing she could do. For the last 4 years, Mom has cried every night, but not for Sebastian. She cried for my dad. Isn't it strange how love works? My mom clearly didn't love Sebastian. She cared about him, but not like she does my dad. Henry and I live with my mom, and Henry was very happy to have her. Mom is now a preschool teacher, which is something she's always wanted to do. He said that Dad and Maria haven't really been around because he has to stay low until their baby is born. That makes sense, because if other Cardles found out about the youngest Callahan, they would kill him or her right away. Naomi turns on the radio and says, "I've never seen you happier, Arya." I thought about what she said, and I have to be happy. What's the point of living if you can't be happy? Why not? Henry is great, I said. It's crazy to see you now and think about where you were 4 years ago, both mentally and physically. I know. Naomi seemed happy to be around baby clothes and things. Seeing Naomi pull out some clothes and pretend her baby could see them made me think of my dead son. My baby's name is Miguel Devereux. Miguel was named after my grandpa, Miguel Callahan. Sebastian didn't deserve it. He didn't deserve to have my kid's last name, but he was still Miguel's dad, and I wouldn't have taken that away. I wanted a girl at first, but when the doctor told me Miguel was a boy, I was happy and didn't say anything. Naomi asked, "This is cute, right?" I was so happy when I held up a pink tutu and a long-sleeved fluffy shirt. Very. I laughed. When Naomi asked me to be the godmother, I was so happy that I would get to be a mother to someone. Naomi said, "Josh's little brother got our daughter a little sheep outfit. It's so cute." Her husband's name is Josh. Josh is a great guy who loves Naomi very much. He and Henry get along very well. Tell him to stop trying to beat me, I'm going to be her favorite. I said this while kissing Naomi's belly. Naomi smiled and rolled her eyes in a funny way. As I walked next to her, Naomi wobbled to the next store. When I walked into the store, I remembered that this was the first place I bought baby things after I found out I was pregnant. I remember this store so well from when I was 34 weeks pregnant and happy. It has changed since then. I turned around and saw Naomi trying to run with baby clothes in her hand. Why did she look like she had just seen a ghost? It's really funny to see her have trouble. Before Naomi got to me, I laughed a little. You know what? This store isn't for me. That's when I saw Nina. There was a little girl running around her legs while she was behind a rack of clothes. She looks a lot like Maya and a little like Caleb, but not at all like Nina. When Nina saw me, a sad smile spread across her face. Was that pity? Or smallness? Nina came out from behind the rack, and I was shocked to see how big and round her stomach was. Nina wobbles over to me with the little girl right next to her. I didn't know what to do, I really wanted to run away and hide in a corner. I heard Naomi clear her throat, which was weird, and it made it even more weird that she did that. "Hey," Nina says. Hello," I said, not sure why she was talking to me. She wouldn't stop talking about how much she wanted me to die the last time I saw her. "I'm so sorry about Maya. She was a good person with a big heart." She smiles and puts her hand on her chest. Was I going insane? Maybe all this baby stuff was driving me crazy, but did I hear her right? I know we didn't always agree, but I really loved Maya. I said, "Me too." I tried to change the subject because I didn't want to talk about Maya. "Congratulations." I told her about her big, growing belly. "It worked." "Thanks," she says. She holds the little girl's hand with one hand and rubs her belly with the other. "Mommy, I want a toy," the little girl whines, pointing to the little elephant on the shelf. The girl looked like she was about the same age as Miguel would be if he were still alive. "Okay, sweetie," Nina says. Nina has grown up and become more mature. She is now the mother of a little girl and will soon be the mother of another one. She has clearly moved on from Caleb and is now living a new life with someone else. She's lucky. I really want what she has. I bent down to talk to the little girl. The little girl held onto her mom's leg and hid her face. I ask, "What's your name?" Naomi and Nina saw me ask the little girl a question. Amara. I could barely hear her soft voice, it was so small and cute. I looked up at Nina. Amara was Maya's middle name. I felt tears welling up in my eyes, but I quickly blinked them away. That's a really pretty name. I'm Arya, I say to them. The little girl finally came out from behind her mom's leg and hugged me. I was surprised, but I was happy to hug her back. Don't cry, she whispers in my ear, and I rub her back gently. Nina is smiling, so she must be very happy right now. Nina really did a good job raising her. She's loving, caring, and open-minded, just like Maya was. You guys made friends. A man who looked to be in his late 30s came up behind Nina and hugged her. Daddy. The little girl ran to the man, and I stood up to watch them. This is an old friend of mine. Nina has a hard time explaining who we are to her husband, but she gets over it pretty quickly. Pedro Nizan, the man says as he reaches out to me. Arya Benaric. We all went our separate ways after talking and sharing a few stories. Naomi wouldn't stop talking about how Nina, the cold peach, grew up to be a grown-up. I thought that buying her food would make her be quiet for a little while, but I was wrong. She kept talking and talking until I finally decided to take her home. I was so happy to drop her off. I was angry that Nina got the ending she wanted. I know it was selfish of me because everyone deserves to be happy, even Nina, even though she was mean in the past. I drove home thinking about what had happened in the store. Amara was beautiful and looked just like Maya. I had a gut feeling that I would see Amara Wolf again. My feet hurt so much that I was ready to go to bed. When I got home, I saw that Henry's car was the only one in the driveway. Usually, our housekeepers and my mom's car are parked here. It was nice and relaxing to walk into my house. I saw rose petals and candles lit all over the place, and soft music was playing as the lights went down. Hello, Mrs. Benaric. Henry walks into our living room in a suit and with a bouquet of sunflowers. My favorite. I smiled and slowly took off my heels before walking over to him. Henry put the flowers down and grabbed me. I kissed his lips softly and then pulled away a little to look into his eyes. I rubbed my thumb smoothly against his cheek while he watched me. I don't want to wait. I whispered, hoping Henry would get what I meant. Henry wanted to wait 3 more years before trying for another child. I know he was scared of losing another baby, and I was too, but I'm ready to start a family. Seeing Nina today with her daughter and pregnant with another child made me want one even more. Henry looked confused. His eyebrows were knitted together, and his face was full of questions. I held his cheeks and kissed him, and Henry didn't pull away. He kept kissing me with everything he had, and his hands slid behind my head while he almost ate my lips. I pulled on his shirt to tell him I wanted it off. Henry pulled back and put his forehead against mine while we both caught our breath. Henry asks, "You want to try for a baby?" His face was normal and not affected. I sigh and then nod. I understood why he was a little scared about having a baby. I know Henry thinks I'll always love Sebastian, and he doesn't want to bring a child into the world if I'm not sure how I feel. To be honest, I still love Sebastian, but my love for Henry is much stronger than my love for Sebastian. Henry makes me feel loved and beautiful, and he brings out the best in me. I don't know what will happen in the future, but I do know that I want Henry to be a part of it. Henry, I know you're scared. I am too, but I love you and I can. Henry stops me by slamming his mouth against mine. He slowly unbuttoned my dress and put his hands on my shoulders. It slid down my arms and chest, leaving me in my lacy red pants. His lips move from my neck to my shoulder, and his hand wraps around my neck. Henry picked me up roughly and made my legs wrap around him. Henry was nice, but in bed he was rough and mean. I trust him, though, because he's my husband. Henry pushes me against the wall, and I pull on his shirt until it comes off. He bites and licks my neck while I try to unbuckle his trousers. Finally, I got it. He quickly pushed his pants to the side, and before I could say anything, he started against the wall. Henry, easy. It was hard for me to talk while he kept pushing. He was hurting me with every move he made. This has only happened once, and it was on our honeymoon when he was doing it for himself. His hands suddenly wrapped around the small of my neck, and he pushed harder and harder. I didn't like this because it felt like my insides were going to break. Stop! I yelled as his hands got tighter around my neck and I couldn't breathe. This is definitely going to leave a bruise. I quickly raised my hands to try to get his hand off, but it was too tight. I looked up at Henry and saw that his eyes looked possessed. This wasn't Henry. Stop right now, I yelled in pain. He either can't hear me or doesn't care that he's hurting me. He sometimes yells at me and is mean to me, but this was different, this was physical abuse. He doesn't stop, he keeps going for another hour, moving us around himself. His tight grip on my neck made me feel like my eyes were about to pop out. My body felt weak and tired. Henry finished and let me go. I lay on the couch, naked and in pain. My arms and legs wouldn't even move. Henry got off of me and picked up his boxers from the floor. He put them on. I turned my head so I wouldn't have to see him. Henry and I went to Louisiana for a month after our wedding. I don't remember the first night we were together, but I do remember being in a lot of pain. The next morning, I had bruises all over my body and was bleeding between my legs. I didn't let Henry touch me for a while, but once we started having sex again, everything was fine until now. I couldn't believe what just happened. Sex is supposed to be a way to show your love for each other. Sure, you can be rough during sex, but not so much that the girl is begging you to stop. I heard him walk into the kitchen and pop open a beer. A tear rolled down my cheek. Go to the room, he says in a cold voice. I turned back to look at him. Was he really serious? Not even going to say sorry? I felt a rush of anger rise up in me. I slowly got up, grunting because my legs hurt. Henry drank from his beer while I stood up. I looked him over before slapping him in the face. You said you wouldn't do that again, I yelled. He was looking down, and his hand was on his red cheek. I huffed, maybe violence wasn't the best way to go. I should have talked to him. My hands were shaking like crazy. He raised his head and bit his red lip. A rush of air hit me, and pain spread all over my body. I lay on the floor in shock. Henry just hit me in the face. I held my cheek as blood poured out of my mouth and tears filled my eyes. Look what you made me do. He throws his spear at the wall, breaking it. I jumped when I heard it break on the floor. He bent down to my level and grabbed my cheeks hard. When he touched the cheek he punched not long ago, I groaned in pain. What was going through his mind? He just hit me and touched me. I'm in shock because he's never done this before. I couldn't stop the tears from falling. The man I loved just hit me. I'm sorry, baby. He kisses my forehead, and I close my eyes in fear, pure fear. We didn't talk about any of it the next morning. I had to cover up a big black bruise on my cheek with makeup. Henry went to work like nothing happened. This morning, he even tried to kiss me and got mad when I didn't kiss him back. I drove to the pharmacy with my sunglasses on to hide my bruise even more after he left. I walked down the aisles looking for it, and I finally found it. I'm not going to have a kid with a man who almost killed me. I want a baby, but what if he hurts my child? I won't let my child go through that. Before I picked up the box, I took a deep breath. I walked over to look. The woman looked at it but couldn't help but give me a strange look, like she was disappointed. A baby is a blessing. She smiled sweetly at me. She was an older woman. I agree, but my new husband might hit the kid. I couldn't say that, no. I said, it's for a friend. The woman just sighed and put it in a bag. I drove home quickly after leaving the store, not knowing how long Henry would be at work. I saw my mom's car parked when I got home. Damn, she's already home. Fine, I won't take off my sunglasses. I will tell her that I'm sick and that I will be in bed all day. I put the box in my bag and made sure it was hidden. I was so nervous that my mom would find out that Henry hit me or that I'm taking the morning after pill that my heart was racing when I walked into my house. I did my best to take off my heels quietly, but I almost fell, which made a lot of noise. Arya, is that you? My mum yelled from the kitchen, where it sounded like she was having a meal. Yes, Mom, I yelled back. Come here. Mom, I don't want to go. Come in here, Arya, my mom says, and there's no way to argue. I left my purse on the stairs and made sure that my hair covered my face a little. I went into the kitchen and went straight to the fridge so she wouldn't see my face. I took a water bottle and looked inside the fridge to avoid her. Pumpkin, it doesn't take that long to pick something to eat, my mum says with a laugh. When I turned around, she looked confused as to why I was wearing sunglasses inside. Mom, Auntie called me. She wants to do a girls' night. My mom didn't ask me why I was wearing sunglasses, which I was glad about. I can't go, but you should. I said quickly as I walked towards the kitchen door. Sweetie, are you sure you're okay? My mum asks. The warmth of her voice comes to me. I wanted to tell her, but I knew it would cause problems for my dad. I didn't want my husband to die, even though it hurt me. I still love him. Of course, I'm not feeling well. Please excuse me while I go lie down, I said. Love you, Pumpkin, my mom says before I can leave. I nodded, and tears came to my eyes. As I walked out of the kitchen, I said, I love you too. I took my purse. I fell apart as soon as I got to my room. I threw my purse against the window, which made everything fall out. I then threw the picture frame that was above my nightstand, which was a picture of Henry and me on our wedding day, against the wall. It broke into a million pieces, and I burst into tears. God will never let me be happy, so I'll never be happy. I rubbed my stomach a little bit. I'm so sorry, I said in a low voice. I rushed to get the box from my purse. I sat on my bed with the pill in one hand and a bottle of water in the other. Although I want to have kids, it's probably for the best that I don't. I put the pill in my mouth and then drank a lot of water. I cried as I swallowed it. It was getting late, so I started to clean up after sitting on my bed for a while. I didn't want Henry to see what I had done. I picked up my purse and put it on my bed. I made sure to throw the box away, but I covered it with other trash so Henry wouldn't see it. I also picked up the picture and the broken glass. I took another frame and put our picture in it. Henry must be home because I heard the door open downstairs. I quickly put on my pajamas and made sure everything was back in its place before going to bed. I turned my back to the door and covered myself with my blanket. I was scared of Henry now, and my body was shaking with fear. He walked in right on time. I tried to calm my breathing down, but it didn't work. My chest kept rising higher and higher. At first, he was quiet, and I couldn't hear what he was doing, which scared me the most. I saw his shadow on the wall as he walked by me. I closed my eyes and hoped and prayed that he would think I was asleep and leave me alone. He kisses my head gently before going to the bathroom, the trash can. I was more scared because if he saw the box, I would die. He was taking longer than usual, and I had a lot on my mind. I quietly opened my nightstand and took out a pair of scissors, which I kept close by. My eyes were closed when the door opened. He must not have seen it because there was no screaming, hitting, or killing. Henry walked over to the other side of the bed, and I let out a sigh of relief. I was so wrong to think he didn't see it. It happened fast. He was on top of me with his hands around my neck. I scratched his hands to get him to let me go. Henry said, "I'm not dumb, baby," and his voice was full of anger. "You killed our baby, just like the other useless one," he yells. I kicked and punched, but nothing happened. He didn't let go, he was shaking me while he choked me to death. I took the scissors and said, "If I don't stop him, he's going to kill me." "Please stop," I yelled. Because I wasn't getting enough oxygen, my voice was cutting out. I decided to stab him because seeing it didn't help. I stabbed him in the stomach with the scissors, and he fell off of me, grunting in pain. As I caught my breath, my hands slowly and carefully wrapped around my neck. I got out of bed, put on my hoodie that was next to my bed, and grabbed my car keys. Then I ran like crazy. I ran down the stairs and out the door to my car. I started the engine and pulled out of the driveway so quickly that I almost hit the curb. I drove down the highway, which is the same one I always take to get to my dad's house. I hate that I'm involving my dad, but if I don't, Henry will kill me. My dad will know what to do if he doesn't kill him first. My neck, face, and body hurt so much that tears were running down my bruised cheeks as I gripped the wheel tightly. How can he treat me like this? I thought he loved me and that we were finally going to make a life together. It was pouring outside, which made me drive a little more carefully. I had a lot of things on my mind. Finally, I got to my dad's house. I got out of my car and ran to the door. It was scary to stand in front of his door and knock so hard, but no one answered. I started to freak out. What if Henry is already here? I knocked on the door harder, and it opened. When Maria saw me, her smile turned into a frown. Jack! Maria screams as she catches me. My legs gave out on me. I leaned my head against her shoulder and tried to rest my body. Maria pulls me inside, away from the rain, and I hear a lot of running. She tries hard to keep me up but doesn't let me fall. Princess! My dad yells as he grabs me. Maria locks the door and turns to face my dad and me. I look like I got hit by a truck, died, and then came back to life. Henry isn't who I thought he was. Jesus Christ! I recognize that voice. It's been a long time since I've heard it. I was suddenly taken out of my dad's arms and into another person's. I closed my eyes and tried to figure out who this person was. I could tell who it was once my vision got better and the blur went away. I only saw Sebastian's scared face before everything went dark. Thoughts of what happened raced through my head. I jumped out of bed in fear and looked around the room, which I didn't recognize. I got up too quickly, and my body hurt. I lightly touched my cheek and felt pain. My throat hurt a lot too. I turned my head to look out the window, and it was dark. Was it the same day? I walked over to the door and looked out, but all I could see was darkness. This doesn't look like my dad's house, it looks more like a penthouse or something. I tiptoed as I closed the bedroom door. I tried not to make any noise, but it was hard. I passed by some other doors that I didn't want to open. Finally, I got to the living room. What's going on? A voice asks. The voice scared the hell out of me, so I jumped up and put my hand over my chest. I turned around to see where the voice was coming from, and the lights came on to show Sebastian sitting in a chair. I was very surprised to see him again after 4 years. I looked at his face and thought he looked older. He raised an eyebrow after taking a sip of the whiskey in his hands. What? I stammered. I can't believe he's here, this wasn't supposed to happen. Sebastian puts his cup down on the table and looks at me. How long has the abuse been going on? I swallowed hard. Our baby was stillborn, so I tried to get Henry pregnant, but he almost killed me while we were having sex. Then I took the morning after pill, which also almost killed me by Henry. I can't tell him everything, and I don't want to either. 1 day ago. Why didn't you come a day ago? He asked, his voice deep and rough. Sebastian stood up, untied his tie, and unbuttoned his shirt as he walked up to me, getting closer and closer. I love him. I mumbled an answer to his question, but I couldn't even think straight. My mind and eyes were just so focused on his body. I didn't want my dad to kill him. I could smell his minty breath because his face was so close to mine. I did something I didn't know I could do when he started to lean in. I took a lot of steps back from him, looking scared. His eyes got bigger, like he wanted me to stay where I was. I said, "No, Sebastian. I'm not doing this with you anymore." I put a piece of hair behind my ear. I miss you, don't get to miss me. You left me in that damn house alone, confused, and heartbroken again. You left me after my best friend died, and for days I couldn't eat, drink, or sleep. I shout, my chest heaving up and down and tears streaming down my face. 4 years ago, I promised myself that if I ever saw Sebastian again, I wouldn't forgive him or want him. He would just be a stranger. I thought I was doing what was best for you, Sebastian yelled back. His anger was coming out just like mine. He shouldn't be mad, I should be. He really thought I would greet him with open arms and a kiss on the lips. He has always gotten what he wants, no one has ever told him no, and he has never been turned down. No, you jerk. You were doing what was best for you, I said while pointing my finger down. He's a selfish. I was so angry that I told him something he shouldn't have known. It fell out of my mouth. I had to deal with everything by myself, even our son's death. I was crying so hard that I couldn't stop. When I realized what I had said, my mouth dropped open in an O shape. Sebastian stood there, his face not changing. I had to sit down, so I did. I sat next to him on the couch. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, so my hands went up to my mouth. Sebastian took a step back, almost falling over before he got back on his feet. His hands were in fists, and his face looked serious. He always kept his feelings from me, so why was I surprised he did it now? I haven't talked to anyone about Miguel's death because it was hard for me to even think about it, let alone talk about it. Naomi has always tried to get me to talk about how I feel about my son, but I never did. I buried it deep inside me and tried to hide from the pain. I found out I was pregnant a month after you left me. It was hard to think about raising a child on my own, but Henry said he would help. Henry took really good care of me and our baby. I wanted my child to have a father. I said this while crossing my arms over my chest. My lips shivered as I remembered Miguel's birth. 4 years ago push, Arya, the doctor yells as I grunt in pain and roll my head back while I push. I put my head on Ben's hand, and my sweat dripped on it. My whole body shook from the pain, and my breathing was heavy and uneven. I thought contractions were bad, but giving birth is a whole new level of pain. I screamed as I pushed my son out, and my body fell back in relief. Out of nowhere, everyone started to freak out and run around. I read enough books to know that babies are supposed to cry when they are born. What's wrong? Why isn't he crying? I tried to hold my head up, but Henry wouldn't let me. I pushed his hand away, but he just held me down with the other one. Henry bent down to kiss my forehead and said, "You're going to hurt yourself." "He's fine." I believed him and lay back down. My body was taking me into a deep sleep, and I was tired. I tried to stay awake, but it didn't work. I woke up to a beeping sound coming from the machine I was connected to. I sat up, ignoring the pain that was all over my body. All I wanted to do was see my son. The room was completely quiet, and the window showed that it was morning. I could feel something wasn't right in the pit of my stomach. My mum opened the door and was shocked to see that I was awake. I asked right away, "Where's Miguel?" I didn't care about anything else but him. I could tell my mom's face was swollen and her eyes were red, like she had been crying. She walked slowly towards me, and I felt more and more panicked. My mum sat on my bed and put her hand on mine. She looked down at my hand and cried. "Sweetie, no, I want my baby now." I yell. My dad came in right after I said that. I could tell my dad had been crying because his eyes were red. "Daddy," I cried. I didn't get it, Miguel was fine. He couldn't leave, I still needed him. Henry told me everything was fine, but I haven't seen him yet. Please, he's all I have left. My dad gets on the bed with my mom and puts his hand on my cheek. He was trying to calm me down, but it wasn't working. I looked into his watery eyes, and he started to talk, but I only heard 2 words. "Princess, he's gone." My heart stopped, my world stopped, and everything got quiet. I started to cry when I saw my mother talking. Her mouth was moving, but I couldn't hear what she was saying. All the kicks I've felt and all the heartbeats I've heard are gone. Everything is just gone now. I tried to get up, but my dad held me tightly and wouldn't let me go. I screamed into his arms while my mum cried. "No, no," I said over and over again, not wanting to believe what I had just heard. Flashback ends. Sebastian brings me back to reality by asking, "What's his name?" I blinked away the tears that had formed in my eyes. "Miguel." I smiled when I said his name. I looked up at Sebastian, and he was looking right at me. I finally saw feelings on his face. He looked sad and sorry. I wanted him to feel that way, but I also know how it feels. A part of me wanted to comfort him, but my mind told me it was a bad idea, and for the first time, I listened to it. I can't hate Sebastian now that I know Miguel looked just like him. I don't hate my son, but hating him makes me feel like I do. He sat next to me with enough space for me to feel at ease. I didn't think this would happen, I didn't know he would care this much. Sebastian leaned forward, resting his elbows on his thighs and rubbing his hand against his beard. "God." Sebastian sounds like he's crying and his voice is shaky. I turned around, and he was really crying. He turned his head the other way to try to hide from me. I've never seen him cry before. This is what I've been waiting for 4 years. I wanted to see him hurt as much as I was, and I wanted to see him broken the same way I was. This time, I didn't listen to what my mind said. I listened to what my heart said. I turned around slowly and saw him cry more. I was finally getting to know the real Sebastian Devereux. I reached out to gently rub his back, but Sebastian turned all the way away from me. I held him close and rested my head on his shoulder. He whispers, "My kid is dead." I could hear the pain in his voice. Dead is the only person who could ever love a monster like me. I didn't say anything because I didn't know what to say. He was still trying to hide his face so I wouldn't see him cry. "Please don't hide from me anymore," I said. Sebastian's shoulders and body became stiff. He took a long time to turn around and face me. I wiped away his tears with my thumb. Our faces were so close together again that his knee was touching mine. "Arya, I'm sorry." The sound of his phone ringing cut off his sentence. Sebastian let go of the air he was holding in, and so did I. He took his phone out of his back pocket and looked down at the screen. I could see the anger in his eyes. I was curious, so I asked even though it wasn't my place to do so. I asked, "Who is it?" while I straightened my back against the couch. Before looking up at me, Sebastian moved his jaw. "Henry Benerick." Sebastian whispers, "What?" I couldn't help but pay attention to him because his eyes were glued to his phone. "What did Henry say?" I asked, "What did he say?" and stared at him for a few seconds, waiting for an answer, but nothing came. I got nervous and took his phone from him. He let me do it. I saw the text message, and a picture of a boy came up. The boy had brown hair, big green eyes that looked just like mine, and scars all over his body. "Hold on, he looks just like Sebastian." There were 2 words under the picture, Miguel Devereux. No, that boy can't be my child. I stared at his face for a little longer, trying to figure it out. "Pumpkin, he looks just like me," Sebastian says. He must have known I was unsure. I turned back around to face him, and tears filled my eyes. My heart sank and shivers ran up my back to my neck. "No," I held his dead body in my hands, "Sebastian. He was dead." I was able to say. "I thought my son was dead for the last 4 years. Every night for the past 4 years, I had to sleep next to his kidnapper." It made my stomach turn. Sebastian said, "I'll kill him," pointing at Henry. His voice was cold and cruel. Beep. Join our Facebook and WhatsApp group for more updates, link is given in description. Rest audiobook will be continued in next episode.